but it's not fair. You're not in Tel Aviv, you're in Ramat Gan. For those of you who haven't been to the State Bank branch, they are located in the Bursa Le'alumim compound in Ramat Gan. Do come and visit. I'm sure that the team from State Bank will share with you their coordinates, and just go there and see how you can work with State Bank of India beyond, of course, the tool that we're going to study about today. We have also with us Mr. Raviv Byron, the president of the Israel-India Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, Raviv. You can just say hi to everyone.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Great. Thank you. It's a special few weeks for India. I just came back from India 2 days back or ago, as we say here. And India is booming, from landing on the moon, which is a huge achievement, to the G20, which is happening this weekend, and the entire world will look into India. And definitely India is taking a central place in the global play, in the global scenario. Oh, I see also Natasha here, Natasha Zangin, our economic attaché from Delhi here. Natasha, if you'll want to open your camera and say hi, you're most welcome. And I think that I'll hand the mic, since we are doing a very quick webinar here today. I'll hand the mic to you, Mr. Mani. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
תעשה מיוט בבקשה. Please, Mr. Mani.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor for all.
Just a sec. Ben, okay. לירון ממש... Okay, sorry, Mr. Mani.
Yeah.
Go, please.
Again, once again, shalom to all of you. Namaste and boker tov. It's a great day for us today, because to share with us, with all of you, our thoughts, not only about SBI, but India, and a special thing about the Indian rupee trade, which has been initiated by the Reserve Bank of India. So I'm here to just give a brief about what the trade which has been initiated by the Reserve Bank of India. We have a presentation here. Before that, just Anat, as she said about India and everything, I just wanted to highlight a few things what Israel and India is all about. As we all know that it's not that India-Israel is in the recent past or something has happened. The friendship is long back. It is running through decades and centuries. And there are stories of friendship which has been bonding the two countries, which is carrying on in the course which we are now following in this present scenario. As to say that, as Anat was saying, that India is making a lot of noises now. To start with, as we have already landed on the moon, it's not that the same thing, but there are other things which is India is counting on, or the numbers are growing in big. Like we are the 5th largest economy as of now, with $3.3 trillion in the GDP, and aiming for 5 trillion and getting into 3rd largest economy. That is what is the aim which is there, and which could happen in next 5 years line. And as such, we have also become the #1 populated country in the world, which is on the positive side, that which gives the edge in the industry and other manufacturing sector. And also to add to it, we are also having in the economic front, if you take the recently, RBI governor was also awarded the top rated rank in the governor's list. So these are the highlights which are happening in India. And as such, India-Israel trade, as Anat was saying, that the recent year, the last financial year, the trade between the country has surpassed $10 billion. And going forward, it will be growing in big numbers. And to highlight on that front, I think everyone will be aware that the Indian corporates are pitching in big and are investing in Israel. We are pitching in, the Indian corporates are pitching in the government entities here. To highlight that, I think the Haifa port deal, everyone is aware about it. And also the TCS are into the government contracts of this in the software development. These are the highlights which is happening in the business front also. And just to start with our presentation, in this background, I just wanted to highlight on the State Bank of India also. We as a bank, we are actually a mirror image for the Indian economy. We hold close to 20% plus share in each and every financial market wherever you take it. To be just a few things highlighting here is that we are number one in customer deposit, assets and network, and in terms of employee in the banking sector in India. We have close to 480 million customers in India, with a network of close to 22,000 branches plus 65,000 ATMs. We have got business correspondents also. This is another touch point. So in total, we have 150,000 plus touch points in India. And in terms of the global scenario also, we are placed in around 29 countries as of now, with 200 plus branches are there, offices, which can give us strength in the global market also. So as such, we are also placed in Israel in that line. And to tell about SBI Israel, what has happened and when it started and all, the journey of SBI Tel Aviv started in 2007. The branch opened in Bursa in the Israel Diamond Exchange, as Anath was saying, that we are placed in Ramat Gan here. And we also welcome that all the members here who are in this webinar to come and visit us in the premises. As I said that we started our operation in 2007 and it's been more than 15 years now. We are in this banking channel. We are one among the three foreign branches banks in Israel. And that is a strength which is there, that SBI is one among the three other than HSBC and Citi. So the activities which we look at our SBI Israel is that we basically focus on trade finance activity. We do facilitate all the trade finance between India and Israel, which is happening. The major chunk being the defense and the diamond exchange, which is happening in India-Israel trade. Apart from that, we are also into chemical industry, which is booming in good and which is being exported from Israel to India. That is also being routed through us. This is one of the major activity in SBI Tel Aviv here. We also do loan syndications. We have been successfully participating in the international syndications, and which is being done in Israel. And we are now an active player in the Israel banking sector. That is how we have started growing. In terms of the bank guarantee, as you are all aware that the India-Israel tie-up is basically into the defense sector. So there we actively participate in the bank guarantee business of the defense entities here. And the services which we offer to the defense entities here is one of the best and the fastest mode. That is why all the 4 defense company majors are banking with us and they are satisfied in all the front. In terms of the bilateral trade, which we are focusing on in the recent past, we were successful in onboarding 2 of the local corporates here and into the banking books, that is into the credit book. And that was done successfully. And we are looking forward to other bigger, larger corporates also to engage with us in the bilateral sector. And other services which we provide is the current accounts for all the corporates. The license for us here provided by Bank of Israel is in the corporate banking. So we don't do with the retail banking area, but we facilitate all the corporate banking activities of the companies in Israel. Let us now move forward to the agenda of the day, that is the rupee Vostro account, which was introduced by Reserve Bank of India to facilitate another mode of trading. This is not that to replace the existing arrangements. It's an additional arrangement which has been provided by the Reserve Bank of India to develop the rupee mechanism. The rupee which was earlier kept in a smaller way of transaction. Now it has been broadened and the transaction can be included in the international trade also. So in terms of exports and imports, invoicing and payment can be facilitated in INR related currency. That is the basic drawback of the basic idea of what the rupee trade. The first initiation was that to open a Vostro account by all the foreign banks who are interested in facilitating this trade. So in this line, the SBI Tel Aviv here has already placed itself by opening a Vostro account with the Indian entity, and we are now in line to provide the total transaction, whatever the importer or exporter in Israel are going to enter into the counterparts in India by way of rupee trade. So this mechanism is an additional mechanism which is already in place. Though the Vostro account is also not new, but it was already available for the other sectors. That is the remittance sector, which was already in place, the rupee remittances which were there for the personal segment. Now a special rupee Vostro account has been created for the purpose of only for the trade related transaction between India and the other countries which have been identified to do the transaction. In such identified countries, Israel is also one of the country as the identified member to facilitate the rupee trade. Then how we are going to do it and what are the advantages, we'll just look at it. In terms of the Israeli exports, if the exporter is undertaking exports through this mechanism, he shall receive payment in INR, which shall be credited into special rupee Vostro account against the invoice for the supply of goods and services which the Israeli seller or the supplier is doing it. So it means that if the Israeli exporters are doing an export and they can raise an INR invoice, which when it is paid by the Indian entity, and then it can be entered into this particular Vostro account, and then the amount has to be repatriated if it wants to be repatriated to the Israel. So all these facility can be routed through this Vostro account, and which we will enable in our branch. And in terms of the importer, suppose the importer would like to make a payment which has been invoiced in India in INR transaction, then the importer can approach us. We'll be able to facilitate that same through this Vostro account. The amount will be remitted to the Indian importer. In terms of the Indian importer side, or the exporter in India, it does not require that he has to maintain an account with only SBI. He can maintain with any of the banking system available in India, and which can be facilitated through the Indian branch where the Vostro account is maintained. So basically what happens is that any exporter or importer in Israel would like to make a remittance in India in rupee, then this particular account will be coming in the handy, and then we will be making use of this account to make the payments. And for the exporters of Israel, where they would like to receive payment, they can ask their counterpart to make the payment through this Vostro account. Once the amount in rupee lands in this account, that can be one of the benefit for the Israeli exporter, is that they can even, suppose there are some payments to be made in rupee in India, that can be used, the same amount can be used without converting it, and that's the benefit which they carry. And then the remaining can be taken back to Israel through means of the conversion, whatever is the mechanism. We'll come to that later. So this is the basic idea about the rupee trade and rupee invoicing. Then how does it going to work? We have given a pictorial presentation about how the things work here. Is that, suppose from a foreign entity, that is Israel is exporting goods to India. That is, the Indian side is importing goods. In that case, the goods gets into India, and the payment is by the Indian entity is made to the Vostro account, which is the account maintained by SBI Tel Aviv in India. So that the payment comes into that account. Once the payment gets received, there are two options available for the exporter in Israel. One is that he can use the money available in the Vostro account to make certain import payments in India, or the expense related to his in INR can be met out from that account without converting. And number two is that he can bring back his money to Israel by means of the convertible currency, that is dollar, euro, or any other traded currency. So this is the mechanism as of now which has been placed for the for the importer in Israel, that is the Indian entity exporting goods to Israel. In that terms, when an export comes, the payment has to be made to the Indian entity, for which an Israel entity can come to us, make a payment. Again, for suppose there is one-off transaction, the entity need not maintain an account with us also. If they have accounts with the local bank here, they can do a transfer. We have got all the mechanism available for the local transfer also, which can land into our account. From there, we can make the payment to the Indian entity in India through this Vostro account through an INR currency. This is what is the mechanism which is available as of now, and all the systems are in place for the transaction. There are other countries where the transaction is already initiated in rupee terms, but in terms of Israel, we are yet to start. But we are getting queries from many of the corporates here for this particular transaction, and we have given them a go ahead for going with the trade. Once the trade is done, then the settlement mechanism will happen in rupee. So this is what is the total mechanism which is put in place. Going ahead, I just wanted to highlight where are the rupee Vostro accounts other than Israel, which are there. In Asia, there are 10 countries which have been permitted. In Australia, also New Zealand has already permitted. And in Africa, there are 7. In Europe, there are 4, where there are permitted countries to do the INR trade. And many of the countries have already placed their Vostro account. And in that line, Israel is also one of the country where in the first phase of the account opening process and everything has been put in place, and we are ready to do the transactions. So we just wanted to highlight you that all the members here, wherever you find it, any of the your counterpart in India, by means of any export or import, they are interested in doing a trade in the rupee invoicing method. We are here to help you out to facilitate the transaction, and all the modalities and the functions are available with us to push through the transaction. So we have also provided the head of operations, head of credit number details here, Mr. Jay Prashant and Mr. Kapil, who you can contact immediately, or you can touch it with us with any of the mode through which it is possible for you. We'll be happy to facilitate this transaction. I again want to reiterate that this is one particular mode which has been added to the existing methods which you are already using it. So it is not the replacement method. It is an additional method which has been provided by the Reserve Bank of India. It is only aiming towards the Indian rupee to be made globalized, so that it can also actively participate once India becomes a global member or a global trade partner. Then it will be facilitating all the countries. So this is what I would like to highlight, and I would like to again thank Mr. Anath and the team for giving us this opportunity. Now I request any questions or queries, please be frank and come up with your queries so that we'll be able to answer.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Manik. I have lots of questions.
Yeah.
So in order to enjoy this scheme, we need to open a bank account with you, right? This is the base.
To be precise, I suppose if it is a one-off transaction, if they have an account with us, then it will facilitate them in a bigger way. If there is a one-off transaction which the company is receiving from India or something, then we will not be insisting on opening an account. We will do the due diligence and we will be remitting the amount to their bank account with the local banks here. That also is possible.
So you will only facilitate this transaction or one transaction, and one doesn't need to hold a bank account in SBI Israel. That's what you're saying?
We'll be happy and more than welcome to open accounts with SBI Tel Aviv. The only thing is that suppose the client is facing some of the constraints in opening the account because he has a few transactions with India and it's not much or something. In that case, I'm saying you without opening an account also we'll be able to facilitate. It's not that it is mandatory to open an account, but we'll be happy and welcoming for all the corporates to come and have an account with us.
Okay, so you convinced me. I would like to open an account. Is there any procedure like RBI approval, or because this is an international transaction for me to open the bank account? RBI for the India starters is Reserve Bank of India.
Yeah. To add on to it, the Vostro account is the banker's account. Actually, State Bank of India is having an account with the Indian entity to facilitate this trade. So the RBI approval was required for opening the SBI Tel Aviv's account with the Indian entity. That was the method which the RBI has insisted upon it. For the corporates whom they want to do the rupee trade, there is no RBI approval required as such, because the RBI approval stops at our level. And after that, we have to follow the RBI regulations. We have to see that the company is doing the invoicing trading in the method which has been provided in the particular special scheme which has come.
So you're saying that there are two kinds of account that I can have with your bank, regular bank account, and one will be Vostro. Those
No.
are separate accounts?
No, that's what again I wanted to make it clear that Vostro account is only for the purpose of bankers. That is for the SBI Tel Aviv. For the corporate entity, there is no necessity for opening a Vostro account. It is only the bankers which has the requirement to do that, and we have already put in place that account. So that account will be used by all the corporates. If suppose an entity in Israel wants to do a rupee trade, they have to open a dollar or a shekel account with us. In that, they will be remitting a dollar or shekel, and then suppose they wanted to send the rupee, then we will do the rupee transaction by means of conversion. That is how the transaction will happen. And similarly, suppose they want to receive the money from India. The rupee comes and lands in the SBI Tel Aviv account in rupee Nostro account maintained in India. Once the rupee gets into it account, and then we will do a transfer entry from bringing the money from India to Israel by converting it and then crediting it in either in dollar or shekel, whichever the currency is preferred by the member here or the entity here in Israel.
So what you're saying is that conversion is done only when I want to take the money out. I mean, as long as I want to trade in rupee, there will not be a conversion. So we don't lose money on conversion in and out.
Yes,
That's
that is
right.
that is the advantage. One of the advantage in this particular scheme, that an exporter is having a small import payment in India also. He exports it, but he has to make some of the payment in rupee in India. So he gets a rupee in the Nostro account, and from there he can just make the rupee payment without converting and bring the balance amount by converting. So that advantage is that he can shut off his rupee expenses in rupee itself.
And how do you determine the exchange rate?
Exchange rate, that the RBI has given few of the modalities. Actually, wherever the traded currencies are available, there the INR to conversion will happen. Like in case of INR GBP, suppose UK is doing a rupee trade, then INR to GBP conversion is directly available. But whereas in case of Israel, as not, shekel to INR direct currency conversions are not available. Wherever these kind of currencies are coming into picture, the RBI has given a mechanism where we can use the dollar as the common currency, and then a cross currency rate is arrived to get the local currency conversion in case the entity wants to convert it to local currency. But if he wants to maintain in dollar as such, then the dollar is easily converted from INR to dollar and then brought into it. So both the possibilities are available, and the customer can avail any one of it, whichever is feasible for them.
Can you check the chat, please, for the questions that are there? There are like a couple of questions.
Just a sec, Doron. We have a set of questions, and then we will open it to everyone. So please bear with us, and then we will attend to the questions raised by the participants. I have another question for you. The Indian party that would like to transfer money to me in Israel, in INR. For them, it's international transaction, right? It's not, although it's in rupee, it's still considered international transaction that they'll have to do all the, to stand to the regulation for international remit. Is that the way it is?
That is true. In partial, it is true. How it is that is RBI comes up with a regulation for all the international trade in the FEMA guidelines. So the FEMA guidelines apply for the importer or the exporter in India. So whenever they make a remittance, they will make the remittance will be in an Indian currency, means it will be in the Indian format only. But they have to follow guidelines of all the foreign regulations which has been put in place in the FEMA. So once the rupee comes into that account, that the transfer of money is a local currency, so it's actually done in a local format, like the RTGS or the NEFT transaction which is available in India. So the amount gets into the Nostro account, whereas the guidelines has to be followed as for the FEMA, which is already put in place by the RBI.
And this scheme applies also to personal accounts, not corporates, or it's only limited to corporates?
This particular special rupee Vostro account, which was directives have come from Reserve Bank of India, it is only for the corporate transaction. It is only for INR invoicing trading. There was already a Vostro account which was already there in the system, which almost 100 odd banks are using that. That is there for the personal remittances, which these two accounts cannot go, they cannot switch in. That means if anybody wants to do a personal remittance, then we have to use the other one which is already in existence. In case of trade, we have to use this particular special rupee Vostro account.
Okay.
That is the mechanism, yeah.
Okay, so let me read to you a few of the
Yes.
questions we have in the chat room. Some of them I guess we answered, but let's briefly go over it. Doron is asking, can payments in India be made for international services? For example, an India private customer paying for services he may receive outside of India. Does it matter where the service is given when the payment is from India?
Payment, see, if the rupee invoicing, that is the invoicing is done in INR, then the amount can be remitted in INR and it can come into the Vostro account. And the other question was whether he can make payment in INR. That is what, no?
Okay, so it doesn't matter.
Basically, let me, if I can, this is what I'm asking. I'm asking, the keyword is services. You talk about exports.
Yes.
I'm asking if this can work for services, like so like a personal, an individual purchase services outside of India and pay through that channel.
Can you give me some example in terms of what kind of transaction it could be?
Let's say they are buying a medical procedure outside of India, for example. So they want to do an operation in Israel, right?
No, but this becomes an individual transaction which will not form part of trade. So
it's not there are two sides here. I mean, the buyer, in this case, the customer, is maybe individual, but they are paying not to an individual. They are paying to a corporate. They're paying for to a company. So that's, I don't know.
No, that's what the individual services will not be form part of the trade which is there. If they use a corporate account to payment also, but that will cannot be used for this. But in that case, they can do a transfer. They have to use the other Vostro account which is available. But normally, again, suppose an Indian person using the services and he wants to make a payment outside India, then the outside entity will not be accepting rupee as a component. So in that case, they will be converting it and sending it in dollar only, or any other currency which the service provider is asking for, I think.
So what you're saying is that in order to enjoy this scheme, two sides should be corporates, and it can't be that one will be just a private person.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to the next question. So Raviv, actually, Mr. Mani replied to you that it's not just goods, it's also services, as long as the two sides are corporates. Is there any minimum amount for a transaction?
No, there are no minimum amounts set by RBI as such. And whatever trade amount which is the part of the invoice can be transacted, and which can be brought in rupee terms in rupee account, and it can be also transferred into this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So to reply to Mohit, actually, if I'm using this service from you, I don't need to have any bank account in India, right? It's enough to work with you.
Yes.
So sorry. So what my question is, basically, if the Indian company does not have any bank account with SBI, how does the mechanism work? Can it still make the repatriation to Israel in Indian currency?
Yeah, that's a very good question actually, because this particular thing, again, I just wanted to make it clear that in India, the customer need not have any transaction or any banking activity with SBI. It's not a must for the entity in India. If they maintain with any of the banking system in India, they have to do a transfer remittance, for which we will be providing the account details and how the transfer has to be made. They can go to their banker, make the remittance to this particular account, and from there we will make the mechanism how it can come to the entity in Israel. And the method which we are going to be used is the freely traded currency, which either dollar or euro, which currency is being opted by the entity in Israel. Suppose they want to be in shekel, then we will do another cross-currency conversion and then credit in the shekel account. I hope,
Okay,
Mohit, I have answered your.
Yeah. So in that case, if the overseas company does not have the account with SBI, how then the amount from SBI moves to the the overseas entity's bank account?
See, that is what there is a mechanism available in this Vostro account for the Indian side. That is Indian, where the Vostro account is maintained. We will be passing on the instruction how the amount should go and which account of the Indian banking side should hit it. Suppose the account is with the Canara Bank in India and customer wants to remit from here. We will be doing and we will be passing on a message to the Vostro account maintaining branch, and they will in turn do the internal transfer of Indian leg, and which is permitted in this mechanism.
My question was with respect to payment from India to Israel. So I would believe it would be reciprocated, that even the same thing would happen.
Canara Bank, your
And
customer can make the payment through that mechanism, the internal transfer mechanism, and then we will do the transfer to Israel.
okay, and lastly, my another question was, if the payment has to happen in Indian rupee, does it mandate that even the invoicing and everything has to happen in Indian rupee, or still the invoicing can happen in maybe USD and still the payment can go in INR?
No, in that case, it will not be permitted in this particular scheme of special rupee Vostro account. This is only for the purpose of doing the trade in INR. In the other case, suppose the dollar payment has to be made, then we need to do the dollar nostro account, which the US banks hold it. So that is how the mechanism will work.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you for replying my questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to the question of Chilik, which asks, in case we want to convert the INR received into USD and take it out, what is the fee you are taking beyond the official rate? What is your fee?
Our fee are very, very nominal for the transfer of fund. There is a correspondent bank charges which is there, and it is all laid down. So it will be very nominal and it will be a constant amount, which we are, I think it's less than the Israeli bank charges.
Okay, good. Yoni is asking, the invoice is raised from the Israeli company to the Indian company. So the invoice will be raised in rupee. Is this okay now?
Yes, absolutely. That is what is the mechanism for this. They have to issue an invoice in rupee, and then the mechanism of flowing of fund will happen through this Vostro account.
And we need to present to you this invoice in rupee, or you're indifferent to that?
No, we need the invoicing so that we will be doing the due diligence of checking the systems and everything, and then we will do the making the payment.
And what is the timeline for this kind of a transaction? Is it immediate? How much time it will take?
See, just to highlight on this particular point, this is a very good, fantastic question, because we at SBI is having a wonderful mechanism of fund transfer to Indian entity. And we do on a real-time basis. Even suppose a private entity or an individual wants to transfer the fund to India, it happens in almost immediate sources. Maybe by half an hour time that will hit the Indian account, which is available in any of the banking system. It is not that SBI alone, it gets hit in India in any of the banking system within half an hour. That is the mechanism which is placed as of now for the rupee, that is the individual transaction. For the corporates as such, the mechanism will be, because it has got the FEMA guidelines in place, so their amount will get transferred to the Indian entity immediately. But there will be some checks and balances which will happen, and then from there the account gets into the final destination where the exporter is there. That is how it works. But the speed of the transaction will be much faster than any other currency which is available as of now.
Okay, thank you. That's encouraging. Eden is asking, I think we answered, but I'll say it again. Does the Israeli company need a subsidiary in India to raise invoices? So the answer is, of course, no. You agree with me? Or to receive payments? Or can an Israeli company make Vostro transactions in India without an Indian subsidiary? And again, your answer is no need for a subsidiary. We can do the rupee transactions from your branch.
Yes,
This
absolutely.
is a major change to what we have at the moment. It's very encouraging. Do you have enough team for all the people that will come to you now?
Absolutely, we are welcoming every one of you to come and be a part of this system, and we'll be very much encouraged to help it out, because as such the entity here we are set up is to facilitate the India-Israel trade, and whatever being the amount, it is not that we need to only take the large corporate something. We are ready to help and everything facilitate, even the minimal transaction which is happening. Please welcome, all of you are welcome to have accounts with us.
Mr. Mani, what other services you're offering the Israeli business community? Since we have so many people here, if you can elaborate a bit.
Yeah, as I said in my introduction, that we are moving on to bilateral agreements and everything and all. We have been successful in onboarding few corporates. Basically, this is a small entity, so whenever credit line comes into picture, we are facilitating the large corporates here, so that the bank is set up for the purpose of taking up the corporate advances here. In terms of trade, we are engaging in many kinds of accounts here for India-Israel trade. We have been facilitating bank guarantees for small corporates wherever it is required. We have been facilitating the LC advising business wherever, suppose your clients are getting the LCs, it comes to us, it gets advised in a single day. Whereas I don't know how the local banks here functions, but we are very efficient in terms of India-Israel transactions. We'll be able to get it done in a day's time, and similarly vice versa, making payment to India also happens in a real-time basis. So these are the advantages which is all there. And in terms of any small trade, like they wanted to have a bank guarantee for the Indian entity to get a contract to be, we are here to help you out in that line. And other than that, if suppose all the bill transactions in the LC, which can also be routed through us, we have all the systems in place for getting the messages passed in a real-time basis.
Great, thank you. I suggest that one point, I added in the chat room link to the Doing Business in India booklet that we have issued in our chamber. Please use this link and you can download the booklet, which also includes the contact information of SBI and more information. Mr. Mani, if you can open again the presentation, or Liron is doing it, and have the slide with your contact information so people can do capture screen and get the details of Kapil and Jay, so that they can approach them directly. Let's, yes, exactly, do a screenshot so that you have the information. It includes also their mobile numbers, so it's really a direct connection to Kapil and Jay. Of course, you are welcome to visit the State Bank of India in Ramat Gan in the Bursa. I suggest now that we can, please open your cameras. And if someone has one or two questions, then please do, because we have another 2 minutes to our webinar. And I also would like to take a group picture of all of us. So please open your cameras. Would like to see you all. And if you have questions, you're okay to open your mic as well.
Yes, I have another question. If an Israeli exporter sells to an Indian company and invoices in rupees, does the Indian company have to deduct TDS for this exchange to Israel?
We are not sure on that particular line. Maybe we can check on that, and maybe we can, because all the terms of FEMA guidelines is what has to be applicable for the trade transaction. It's only the currency which has been changed. Whatever was done in the earlier past in the dollar remains the same. Only the currency of the invoicing gets changed, because to facilitate the exchange, eliminate the exchange risk which is available with the both the partners.
I will reply to this, the Raviv. If you are subject to TDS, this account, you'll have to do the TDS. However, many Israeli companies don't know that the bilateral avoidance of tax agreement between Israel and India says that many transactions are not subject to TDS, and still the Indian companies are doing TDS. So be aware of the treaty, be aware of that, and try to point this out to your Indian counterparties that there are cases that no TDS is required, and whether there is a Vostro account or a non-Vostro account. More questions, friends?
Yeah, I had a question. I actually sent it also in the chat box. So I was asking about the exchange rate and the fee that you have over the spot rate, and you didn't mention a number, you just said it's very minimal. Are there any other costs that an Israeli company should be facing while working using this scheme?
We will be sharing that cost details with you in future. Maybe by mail we can share it with you, because we are yet to define on the cost factor. But to be assuring you that these transactions will cost you much lower than the dollar related transaction which was happening maybe in the past. So because we are yet to start the transaction and yet to define the fee structure, but we will be keeping it at minimal rate. That is what. And there won't be any cost other than the flat commission which we will be charging on the remittance of the fund from here to Israel or from bringing from there. As you said, the exchange rate will be there, that we will be discussing with the client when we are doing the transaction.
Okay, gentlemen, ladies, one last question. Anyway, you have the details of Kapil and Jay. Feel free to approach them directly. You're most welcome to join our Israel-Asia Chamber of Commerce, which cover 15 countries in Asia, including India, of course, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Philippines, Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, soon Bhutan, and many more. I'd like to thank Liron Urman for making our general manager for making this webinar happen today. Thanks our friends in SPI for being our partner, member, and associate for promoting business between Israel and India. I'd like to use this opportunity to say Shana Tova to everyone. I'm not sure that I'll see all of you before end of next week, so it's a good opportunity to greet all Shana Tova. Do follow us on social media. We are having next week a delegation from Thailand. We're taking a delegation to Philippines in November, to Nepal in March, and many more are coming in the pipeline. So stay tuned, join our Facebook, LinkedIn, so that you're updated on what's happening in Asia in general, and of course, in India in specific. Thanks again, Mr. Mani. Thank you, Liron. Thank you, Ravi, for joining. Thanks for everyone. And Shana Tova.
Thank you,
Anat. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Mani and Kapil from SBI, who planned together with us this webinar. We managed to do it in 45 minutes, so I'm very happy. If any here in the audience want to contact anybody, you have my email in your calendar. And if you forgot the contact details of the bank, you can write me emails, of course. And you are most welcome to join our next webinars and events of the Chamber.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.